You're listening to Rev It Up, a 5-part procurement podcast series powered by Jagger, where this time what happened in Vegas won't actually stay there. Hi there, I'm Philip Ideson, and over the next 5 15-minute podcasts, I'll sit down with some of the stars from REV2018 to dig deeper into the biggest issues facing procurement and the skills you're going to need to accelerate your career and prepare for tomorrow. From AI to benchmarking, from balancing risk with competitiveness, to the leadership lessons that have got CPOs to the top, we'll chat about all the things that will make a real difference for your career. In today's podcast, I'm joined by Hale, Senior Analyst for Wendy's Quality Supply Chain Cooperative, better known by the acronym QSCC. And in our conversation, I explore how QSCC actually uses data and analytics across their supply chain, with a particular focus on the identification and the mitigation of risk. And I start by asking Laurie if, just for some context, she could share some details on what QSCC actually is.
QSCC is the third largest purchasing co-op in the food service industry. Mm-hmm. We support Wendy's restaurant owners and over 6,100 restaurant locations across North America, which is U.S. and Canada. Yeah. We are owned and controlled by our members. Our members are both company and franchise operators. We manage nearly $4 billion in spend annually. Within that $4 billion spend, we manage a wide variety of goods and services. They can range from food, packaging, and indirect, building materials and equipment, contract services, IT software, IT hardware, and IT services, along with distribution and logistics.
So a lot on both the indirect and the direct side.
Correct.
So as you are buying such a range of product and services, there's obviously a lot of risks that are inherent with those. I just wonder if you could share a little bit about some of the key risks that you face, but really that every procurement team needs to face.
I think the risks that almost every procurement team face are, most importantly, the supplier-related risks and issues that go along with that relationship. You know, it's always difficult to find and qualify those suppliers that meet your supply chain or your supply requirements. Yeah. So it's really important that you establish a relationship and manage those supply chain partners so that you work well together. Yeah. Also, going hand in hand with those relationships, as you build those relationships, it helps you manage the risk mitigation. It's important that you manage your contracts and your compliance and make sure that all the pieces are in place so that you don't have any supply and assurance issues. And also, one of the other major important risks that you need to manage is cost. Everything is about the dollar. Yeah. Whether it be, the absolute cost or the volatility that is apparent in the market. Think about logistics in the market today. And also, one of the major things that QSCC prides itself on is transparency to our board members. So it's really important that what we do is transparent to all parties involved, all stakeholders, so they understand how we arrive at our decisions.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're not operating in a black box and kind of just giving out guidance or recommendations without everybody knowing what was a party of that and feeling part of the process, I'm sure, as well.
Yes, that is correct. It's important that they understand that we have done our due diligence, that, we haven't always just arrived at the lowest cost solution, that we have considered all aspects of our decisions and how they impact the business.
Mm-hmm. How can you actually you talked a lot about data and gathering data, gathering intelligence. I wonder if you could share some of the ways that you're able to really turn the procurement team into a group that is really proficient at gathering intelligence, whether it's internal, whether it's external, but using data that you have access and turning it into action, essentially.
Sure, we do a lot of benchmarking, and we use outside sources that help us collect that data and crunch those numbers. Unfortunately, in this world of mass data, it's hard to be an expert in everything. So you have to be reliant on other sources that can help you make those decisions. We look at best-in-class studies, make sure that we understand the competitive landscape that's around us. And we do strategic analysis, what if we were to do this, what would happen in the end result? What is the cost of that? We also monitor markets and our suppliers for financial health and, warning signs that might indicate that they're having some issues.
Right.
We also look at market trends and pricing to make sure that we understand where we are in relationship to those things. We also, as we mentioned before, or as I mentioned before, develop those relationships with our supply chain partners and use their resources to provide insights so that, we make sure that we came to conclusions that not only make sense but are also actionable, that we can deliver on our strategy for our partners.
Yeah, and they're a great source of, especially when you talked, I noticed you using the word partners, which I love. It's you're using them as a source of information to solve challenges together, as opposed to seeing it as being a one-way or transactional relationship where you're gathering data, they're gathering data, and you're trying to see how you can use that against each other.
Yes, I think that is an important point, especially in today's world, is, you have to work together.
Yeah.
It's not a us versus them mentality. They're good at what they're good at, and we're good at what we're good at, and it's important that you bring those two together so that you both achieve that win-win in the end.
You mentioned a little bit earlier about data, and so how do you, and also actually transparency, I think those two things tie in nicely to thinking about how you actually report the value that you're creating to the rest of the business. I wonder how you approach that, and perhaps if there's any KPIs that you use today that maybe they've evolved, or you're kind of thinking of different ways to represent the value that's created rather than traditional KPIs.
So we here at QSCC do use KPIs to report our progress against to the various facets of our company.
Yeah.
What we do is, depending on our audience, our KPIs and how we present them change dependent on our audience. Mm-hmm. So,
it's kind of customized so that you're not sharing the same things with everybody. You're actually building whether it's a dashboard or something that's really fit for the particular audience, so that it's actionable to them as opposed to it just being more generic.
Very much so, that we direct our responses so that they have the most impact and meaning to our audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess that allows them to really focus on what's important to them, rather than a lot of insights getting lost amongst all the numbers.
Yeah, so they don't drown in the data deluge. Because our categories are so diverse and complex, you can't get lost in the data, and you get that data daze, and you lose your audience, and when you lose your audience, you lose your effectiveness and your impact.
Yeah.
and the understanding of what you do, and, they may end up, not valuing as what you do as much because they don't understand what you do and what you provide.
So my last question today, Laurie, is we talk a lot about digital transformation and the use of technology, as part of, I think, a broader transformation strategy in making us more effective and increasing our impact as procurement professionals. But we're often pretty afraid by technology as individuals. I just wondered if we need to be afraid of digital transformation and of technology and things like AI, or does the human element of what we do really bring something that's irreplaceable?
I don't believe that we need to be afraid of technology or digitization anytime in the near future.
Right.
It must be integrated across all aspects of the supply chain before it can be fully utilized and begin replacing the human oversight.
Yeah.
Meaning that, AI is dependent on rules and reliable data. Mm-hmm. At our current state, there's questions about the accuracy of legacy data, and, it needs to be, the data silos need to be addressed. It seems that certain people like to hold on to their data and not share. Mm-hmm. And until you open up that avenue of sharing the data across all aspects, will it truly be able to be integrated. Also, the legacy data needs to be verified and clean before it can be meaningful in the future. And, the supply chain partners have to be willing and have the ability to participate. So if I am AI integrated, but, my supplier is not, that flow of data back and forth can't happen.
Right.
So it's also important that you understand the risks and the opportunity that, come to bear when you are placing your trust in this autonomous world of data exchange.
No, I think it's so important that there's such an opportunity for us to lever technology, and I hesitate to say technology as being like the silver bullet because I think it's part of a broader strategy. I agree with you. I don't think our roles are going away anytime soon, or at least the function and the purpose of what we're doing, but what we actually do and the impact we're actually able to make may change significantly.
Yeah, I think maybe, what we think of our traditional roles, whether it be like a purchasing analyst or something, that is, here in today's world, in future, the nature of the job may change. Yeah. The job has to change with the times. Yeah. You think, the auto mechanics industry, you had the backyard mechanic that could take a wrench and a screwdriver and fix a car, but now he relies, he has to go to school, a 4-year degree. And so just the nature of the job has changed, and the roles and responsibilities of that job.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Rev It Up, powered by Jagger. Check out the rest in this series, and of course, tweet myself at @PEidson or our guests with any questions and comments using the hashtag REV2018.